I know for a fact that most of you running an agency are losing up to 10K a month just from poor follow-ups. If you're just starting out, that likely means your first client already slipped through the cracks. That's exactly why I created a complete system, a masterclass on how to follow up properly without coming across pushy or needy. So you can reclaim the revenue you're currently leaving on the table. Let's dive into it. Right, so this is the complete masterclass I've created for you. But before we can dive into all the strategies and all the frameworks, we first of all have to understand what follow-ups actually means. And follow-up means you basically send another message. It can be a call, an email, or a DAM to a person you have contacted before to get a reply. The reply can be positive or negative, but it's all about getting a response because every single response moves us closer to getting a yes, so getting a call booked. So what are the reasons why people don't respond or ghost you? First of all, they maybe don't even see your message. They want to reply, but forget about it. It maybe doesn't resonate with them because they are busy doing something else, or they are basically just not interested. And most of you believe that the reason why they don't reply is because they are basically not interested. But this is wrong, right? This is also the reason why so many people don't even follow up once, because they believe, hey, if the person doesn't respond, they are basically not interested, so I shouldn't follow up any further. But the most common reason is that people want to reply, but they basically just forget about it. So they see your message, maybe they don't open it, but they at least see it on like the push notification, like the front screen. And then they like want to interact with it, they want to reply, but they basically forget about it because they are currently doing something else. So in most cases, it's doing them a favor if you follow up on them. So they remember to respond and get the thing that they want. So they get the call or they get like the resource or whatever you DM'd them for. If you look at this statistic here, at this data, you see that most people only reply after you did 5 to 6 follow-ups, right? So you see with like the first follow-up you do, like a few people respond. With like the second follow-up you do, more people reply, and so on. And you see that most people, right, so like 20 to 25% only reply after like 6 follow-ups, right? That means if you miss out on like 4 follow-ups, that means you miss out on like 30 to 40% of people. So the golden number for me is 7. So I always follow up 7 times across different channels, which I will show you in a second, because after 7 follow-ups, it doesn't really make sense to follow up any further, because after that, you won't get that many people responding as you get when you do like 4 to 6 follow-ups. So here's like the math behind it, right? If you do 500 outreaches and you book 5 calls, so you have a 1% booking rate. Without follow-ups, you basically book 5 calls with a 20% close rate. You close 1 customer. So if 1 customer pays you 2K a month, you get 2K a month out of that. With follow-ups, right, you can pretty easily increase your bookings by 3. So you can pretty easily book 15 calls with the same amount of outreaches. And with the same closing rate, you basically get 3 customers, so 6K a month, just by following up a bit. All right, so that's basically 3 times more revenue from the same outreach you do. And you see, like, follow-ups are really, really powerful if you know how to do them right. The problem is that most people don't know how to follow up. So they say something like, hey, just bumping this up, or just following up on my last message. And this is something you should absolutely avoid, because this is what everybody else is doing, and it doesn't really make sense, right? Because you just bump up a message which they haven't replied to before. So what we have to do is we have to create an environment where it doesn't feel awkward for them to reply. So we should remove any sense of fault or pressure from them, because if we make them feel awkward about not replying, then they feel ashamed and they won't reply to your follow-up. So we have to make sure that we take all the pressure from them and make it a great environment to respond to you. So the further along you are in your follow-ups, the more attractive your offer also needs to become. So when you do the first follow-up, you can just follow up on the core offer and the core pitch you have, for example, pitching the call. But after your 7th follow-up, you need to have like a no-brainer offer, and also all the friction needs to be removed. So every single follow-up you do needs to be more of a no-brainer, so it becomes like easier for them to reply to the next follow-ups you send. And this is the framework that I've been using and that you can basically use on every single channel. So we need to make sure that we create urgency and scarcity. So we need to make sure that we create enough urgency so that people see a reason in replying. They need to understand that if they don't reply now, they will miss out on something, because people have FOMO, people have fear of missing out. And if we can create a bit of FOMO in them, it will make them reply much faster. Then we need to create relevance. So we need to make sure that the follow-up and the offer you have actually is relevant for them, and it reconfirms that the first message you sent is actually exactly what they need. So we need to make sure that we create a bit more relevance in the first follow-up we send. Then we need to make sure that we remove all the friction, so we make it super, super easy to respond. We need to be willing to pull back. This is something that most people miss. Most people just go for the sale and go for the call, but they are not willing to pull back. So we need to have the attitude and energy of pulling back, that we are basically not hunting them, but that they have to come to us. And this is one of the most important things. We also have to trigger a response, because the only goal we have with follow-ups is to get a reply, right? No matter if it's positive or negative, we have to get a reply. So the follow-up needs to be framed in a way that we trigger a reply, most often through a question. So there are different types of distributions to how we can deliver our follow-up message. The first one is same channel follow-ups. It means we basically follow up in the same place where we sent the first message. For example, if you sent the first one on email, you will follow up on email first. The next one is different channel follow-ups. So we basically switch our channel. So if you sent the first message on LinkedIn, we could now follow up on email or phone. The last one are multi-channel follow-ups. So here we basically use multiple channels to reach out to them and follow up on them at the same time. So we, for example, follow up on LinkedIn, email, and phone. These are the only 3 distributions, so the ways of how you can deliver your follow-ups. And all of them are powerful, but we have to use them at the right time. So next up, these are the 4 different types of follow-ups you can send. The first one is basically a reminder follow-up. So basically a simple nudge in case they missed your message. The next one is a meme follow-up. This is basically a light and humorous message to make them re-engage and to basically just re-engage the intention. This is one of the most powerful things I've ever used. And this is the one that also gets you the most replies. Then we have social proof follow-ups. And here we basically just show them some results or testimonials or any other stuff to just build some trust, because quite often they don't reply because they basically don't trust you. So here we build trust through results, testimonials, or case studies to make sure that they trust us enough to reply. Lastly, we have signal follow-ups. So here we basically engage passively, for example, through liking their content or reacting to stories, to just be kept in mind. So these are the different types of follow-ups, and these are the different types of distribution, how you can deliver these different follow-ups to them. So now let me show you an actual example and a timeline on how you can follow up with somebody. So this can be different each time and for each conversation, but this is how it should look like in most of the cases. The first follow-up should always be a same channel follow-up, so following up on the same channel. And the first one should be a reminder. So you basically just remind them on the message without using these cringe framings. All right. So for example, hey name, let me know there are 2 slots left for Wednesday. This would be a great reminder follow-up if the first pitch was basically a call. The second follow-up should be also a same channel follow-up, and this one can be a signal follow-up. So here you basically just like their story or comment their posts just to be kept in mind and make sure that they see your name and then maybe remember the conversation you had with them or like the message they got. The next one should be also same channel follow-up. So you're still following up on the same channel. And this one can be, for example, a social proof one. So here you just send them over some case studies. So client name, for example, Justin got these results. It reminded me of you. So I thought I would send them over your way. Want me to share the full story, right? So we basically build trust through the case studies we send. And we also trigger a response with the question that we have at the end. So it's like really, really low friction for them to reply, right? Because we just ask them if they want to see like the full story and maybe they're interested in it. And we trigger a response to the question we ask. And the question we ask is not really relevant and connected to the first message we sent. Follow-up number 4 can be also a same channel follow-up. In my opinion, the first 4 to 5 follow-ups you send should always be on the same channel, because there you get a reply most likely. And the next one can be, for example, a meme follow-up. So you send a meme, and here you have to be a bit careful because you have to make sure that your target group understand memes. Right? Good memes and follow-ups could be, for example, this one. So watch the video or ignore me, and he's basically like drifting away. Book a call, put it off, and that's basically like what's going to be. And something like this, right? So you can find them for free on the internet, and they can work pretty well. And I would say like 80% of the cases, you will get a reply right here. Like they are powerful, but you have to make sure that they understand the follow-ups and that the follow-ups you send are actually relevant to the pitch you had and the niche that you go for. Let's say they still haven't replied. The next follow-up I would send is a multi-channel follow-up. So I would follow up on different channels because after 4 follow-ups, it's really unlikely to get a response to the same channel. So let's say you followed up and you sent the first message on LinkedIn. Now we would basically follow up on phone and email. So we would call them and also send an email. And the advantage you have is that it's not a cold call or a cold email at this stage because they connected with you and you already sent them something. Therefore, it's a warm follow up. And here you could basically say something, hey, we briefly chatted on LinkedIn. I saw you accept my connection. Did you get a chance to read my messages? If they say no, you can then basically tell them the pitch on the phone and just reintroduce them to the offer you had. If they say yes, you can just follow up on them. And if your offer is relevant to your niche, then the chance of getting a call booked or at least a response is pretty high, especially if you follow up on phone. The next follow-ups should be signal-based follow-ups because after 4 to 5, same channel or multi-channel follow-ups, it doesn't really make sense to follow up any further, right? So from there, you can basically just do signal follow-ups. So for example, like their content, comment on their post, and just do this on a regular basis to be kept in mind. And at one point, they will maybe reach out to you or they will maybe see that you always engage with their content. So they will try to send you a message and then see that you contacted them. Maybe the offer will be relevant at this point and you then get a call booked. So at this stage, I would just do a couple more signal follow-ups, but don't reach out any further. But in general, we can say that the more they've interacted with you, the more you should follow up. So if there's no response at all, so you send a message, they don't respond, and they never ever engage with your follow-ups, then you should send fewer follow-ups. So I believe like 4 to 5 are enough. But if they interacted with you in any kind of way, for example, they booked a call but they no-showed, or they replied to your first message but haven't booked a call, or they requested a video whatsoever, then you should do more follow-ups because this lead is hotter and they already engaged with you. So the chance of booking them into a call is much higher. And you also know that the offer you have is actually relevant to them. So it's your duty to actually follow up since you know that you can help them with the offer and they have a problem that you can potentially fix. And the whole chain should look like this. So we have between like 4, 5, maybe even 7 follow-ups at a row, right? Basically using like different channels and different follow-up methods. And after 5 to 7 follow-ups without a reply, you basically wait 3 months and then you just reach out to them with the message, how's everything going? Not more. You don't follow up again. You just send them the text, how's everything going? And the goal we have here is to basically just trigger a reply or get a signal. So get them to see the message, get them to reply, get them to ask a question or stuff like that. And this one is really underrated. So I've been using this for the last couple of months, and this is really powerful because after a couple of months, they don't even remember you. They don't remember that you sent them a message, that you follow up on them. And they basically just see you reaching out with how's everything going. And they believe that they already spoke to you because why should you ask like how's everything going otherwise? So here you get a response in 80 to 90% of the cases. And as long as they reply or at least like see the message, like the message, or engage in any kind of way, you basically just put them again into the follow-up cycle and you start again with these follow-ups. If there's no reply, you wait 3 months, you send this text again, you wait if there's a reply or a signal, and you do the same follow-up chain again. If there is no reply or signal, then you don't follow up any further. Okay? And this can get you a lot of meetings booked from old leads. So this is basically a reactivation follow-up campaign way, which is really powerful. So this is basically the full follow-up masterclass I've created for you. And if you implement all these things and if you understand what I talked about, I believe that this will get you a lot of calls booked and you will get a lot more output from the input you do. So as I said, you don't even need to do more outreach or you need to get better at sales. You just need to do better follow-ups so you can get more calls booked and more closings out of the same volume you have. And if you want me to send over this full board with much more scripts, much more memes, and much more resources, then just comment the word follow up masterclass and drop me also your Instagram so I can send you a message and send you over the link to this board with all the different scripts, resources, memes, and everything included. I hope you enjoyed the video and see you in the next one.